What if I told you that the secret to your own growth and fulfillment isn't found in chasing success, but in pouring into others? Here's the twist: when you give unselfishly without keeping score, you don't lose. You multiply impact, connection, and meaning in ways that you never imagined. Hey there, I'm Joanna Douglas. I am the founder and chief empowerment officer of Insight, where we talk about all things Enneagram and all things female leadership. Today, I'm going to share an experience that I had. I've been running my own business for in this capacity for about a year and full time about 6 months. So I've sort of launched in different levels. And at the beginning of the year, I'm fully launched the company and the brand, and had a couple of opportunities through my professional relationships to have a speaking engagement earlier this year. And in the engagement, I was talking not about female leadership, not about the Enneagram, but my previous career as a sales leader in the media business. And sometimes we forget what we know. Even though I've switched careers, it doesn't mean that 25 years, we'll just be generous and say 25 years isn't doesn't have value and can't be still of use to other people. So this came from one of my new friends from this coaching profession, and I was speaking with her about a personal item for her daughter who wanted to start a summer babysitting business. And I just shared some things that I know from being in sales for a long time. And as she was in between positions and was in a part of a group called Executives in Transition, and she said that the concept that sales is a numbers game, that if you are calling on enough people, eventually you will find the right person. Like, you just have to keep going and keep in motion. And this was a new concept to her. She was frustrated in her job search, was feeling disenfranchised and discouraged. And she felt like the nugget from a sales manager eons ago to me that has guided my previous career in sales and sales management, that if you look at it as an impersonal numbers game, it is an impersonal numbers game. There is a process and a formula that can be followed. You can still succeed. And so she applied this to her job search, and she said that it was so helpful. She invited me to speak to her executive and transitions group. And I did that in January of 2025. Because as I've switched from exchanging time for money in a corporate environment, I get to pick and choose how I show up and whether or not I am focused on pendings and a monthly budget and, the very personal pressures of that. And if I'm just showing up with an impersonal attachment to the outcome. And I gave a wonderful speech. And, it's funny when you're giving in that way, or at least for my experience, giving in that particular way where you are trying to pour into, again, I forgot I knew of something that was of value, and it shifted this new friend's job search at a time that she felt like she needed it. And I thought everyone was going to lean into this particular area where I had come up with the worksheet and formula, and they could figure out how many businesses they needed to talk to, and then how many interviews they needed. So there was, a very measured process. And that's not what people in the group glommed onto. They took in for themselves a concept that I used when I was a sales leader, which was a no is not a rejection. It's just a not now. It's you've missed something in the qualification process, or you can shift it from I was the second candidate for this very big job with this very big corporation and I didn't get selected, you can reframe that to be I was one of two people in the entire United States that was being considered for this position. This group leaned into the concept of mindset. So I had a team member who would just really get in her head about whether or not she was going to hit the goal and would just get herself very nervous. And then she would sort of freeze and not be able to have activity. And I invited her, we're humans. And whether we like it or not, when someone says no to something you've worked very hard on in terms of asking for an order, I'm referring to sales here, it may be, we may take it personally, but I invite you not to, especially for a job search. And I will post up here, I'll recreate the presentation and I'll put that up here as well in case you're interested in that. But I invite you as leaders to shift when you walk through those doors, or if you're a home office like mine, when you walk through the door to your home office, that you just, we talk a lot about a pause here. It's very, very powerful as a leader to get out of emotional reactivity and create a pause and make a different decision about how you want to respond to someone or a situation. And I invite you to be very intentional about pouring into people, especially the ones that might be difficult for you to work with on your team. And this is not about you being right, keeping score. It is about a meaning, a the recognizing the impact, a connection that you can multiply if you model that servant leadership, that unselfish giving. Only you know where it's appropriate for that to happen in your world. I'm just sharing that as I've shifted careers, I've really been given an opportunity to shift my own perspective about how I approach my work. And my work every day, what gets me out of bed every day is helping women to be happier and healthier at work and helping to change the world of work into something that isn't work. And as I'm modeling that for my leaders that I work with in a coaching perspective or a coaching engagement, I'm pouring into them. I'm giving to them unselfishly. Yes, they're clients and there is a financial exchange there, but my I've really noticed that the energy behind it isn't about how much is this person going to pay me. It's, oh my gosh, a light bulb went off in her eyes today. Oh my gosh, this thing that I didn't realize was still valuable, this numbers game and sales and how you apply it to a job search or what are in this particular case the job search. And I just want to remind you that it's important to pour into others because that's where the juice is. Absolutely, where we grow as our as heart-based leaders. We'll talk about that. We talk about that here too. Um, it's important. It's important to have a slightly different focus. Hope you found this useful. And until we see each other again, I hope you have a powerful day.